It is so good to be back with you guys after last week. My family was so sick. My son ended up having pneumonia. So it was a rough week over here. I haven't had a fever and I don't even know how long, girls, and I had one, and so did everybody else in my family. So I'm sorry about the video last week. It just didn't happen, but we're back this week and we have a lot to talk about. The events in the last week really have blown my mind. I mean, the things that are happening in our world today are just, it's just unfathomable what is happening. And where evil lurks in places where you wouldn't even think that they would, the most horrible evil lurks there. So we have a lot to talk about this week. First of all, just getting started, we are in the Christmas season, and I just want to say Merry Christmas to you and yours and your family. And there's nothing like the Christmas season to me at all. I feel like we have just now been able to experience it because we were so sick. But we're in. My kids saw Santa last night, and once again, it's just shaping up to be a great Christmas. So, with that being said, we are going to start our pledge of the week. Okay? Pledge, pledge, pledge. Here we go. God is at all times my authority. He placed me on this planet for my purpose. Following Jesus' example, I choose to be a servant. I commit to growing and maintaining a personal, intimate relationship with Christ. I understand that my life is not my own, and I represent Jesus Christ daily. Lord, grant me the grace to bear the creed, follow me as I follow Christ. Here we go. We're going to hit this. I commit to growing and maintaining a personal, intimate relationship with Christ. One of the things that happened last week, really shed some light on we must have a personal, intimate relationship with Christ. There is nothing on this planet that will feed you and that will keep you going and that will reassure you like your intimate relationship with Christ. I wrote a blog last week just on just how crazy it is that our country thinks they put a couple laws up about keeping Jesus out of schools and no prayer in schools, and you can't have the 10 Commandments up, in a courthouse or whatever. And they think that those little laws are going to keep Jesus out. Heck no, it's not. We think we have developed this mindset in our nation that if we reject God, that he's going to not exist, or he's going to comply by our human rules. That is asinine. It is completely crazy. He created us, and he is privy to us, all of us, and he is in and through all things. So, it just blows my mind. But last week, just watching the events unfold, I have a first grader. It happened Friday while she was at school, and I was getting my hair did, and I saw it up on the screens. I saw what was happening, and I just, as a parent, petrified. Totally petrified, because my blessed little child is at school. And Monday, I was sitting with my husband in our bed on Sunday night, and, I just looked at him and just said, I want to take her tomorrow. I don't want to take her because I could not imagine what those parents went through and are going through right now. I could not imagine the pain that they are feeling. And my heart just absolutely broke. I was weepy all weekend. They're not even my children. And it's not even my town. And I don't even know anyone in that town. But just understanding the horror that must be is just mind-blowing. And it brings me to this point. We must, as leaders, be growing. We must be maintaining personal, intimate relationships with Christ. You cannot be a leader and feed off of someone else's relationship with Christ. If you are a leader, your job is to lead. It's not to follow someone and feed off of it. You must be a first generation passionate Christian. Doesn't matter if your parents and grandparents and stuff like that. You need to adopt your very own relationship with Christ, that no matter what comes against you, it can withstand these absolutely crazy circumstances. Because if you're feeding off your mom, you're feeding off your dad, ladies who are married, you're feeding off your husband, your relationship with Christ, when faced with tragedy, will fail if you have not adopted it for your own. It will fail. I want to read Psalm 28 here. And when I think of people who were passionate about their relationship with Christ, well, David, he's the first person, King David is the first person in the Bible that comes to my mind. He was passionate. He must have the Lord. He was not satisfied in his life without him. And even though he made mistakes, his relationship with the Lord is what brought him back to Christ. Psalm 28. To you, O Lord, I call. My rock, do not be deaf to me. For if you are silent to me, I will become like those who go down to the pit. Hear the voice of my supplications when I cry out for help, when I lift up my hands toward your holy sanctuary. Do not drag me away with the wicked and with those who work iniquity, who speak peace with their neighbors while evil is in their hearts. Requite them according to their work and according to the evil of their practices. Requite them according to the deeds of their hands. Repay them their recompense, because they do not regard the works of the Lord, nor the deeds of his hands. He will tear them down and not build them up. Blessed be the Lord, because he has heard the voice of my supplications. The Lord is my strength and my shield. My heart trusts in him, and I am helped. Therefore, my heart exalts, and with my song I shall thank him. The Lord is their strength, and he is saving defense to his anointed. Save your people, bless your inheritance. Be their shepherd also, and carry them forever. I'm asked quite often where my passion comes from. I don't. It's a hard question to answer. Where does it come from? The origin of everything in me is our Jesus. You see these people that are passionate, and I'm inspired by several very, very passionate leaders. The origin in them, the ones that I know, is the Lord. There is nothing good in me. There is nothing good in them. The origin of passion is intimacy with Christ, because he's worth it. No amount of amazing cars, big houses, giant diamond rings, designer clothes, nothing brings passion like our Savior. One of my biggest pet peeves right now is the amount of people that spend so much time on Facebook and Twitter, Christians, and not in the Word. I was studying yesterday for this because I knew I was going to talk to you guys about this today, and I'm just curious, what polls have been done to show leadership. How much time does Christian leadership spend in prayer and in Bible reading a day? I went to Barna, went to Lifeway, I went to Christian Living, several what I think are reliable sources, and just really did some research on it. And one of the reports was that the average pastor spends 4 minutes a day in prayer. The average Christian 1 minute a day in prayer. There were other ones that were more liberal. There was one, the average pastor spends about 15 minutes a day in prayer. And the greatest one was about 30 minutes a day. Let that not be us. Let that not be us. Leaders, your flock looks to you. If you are spending 4 minutes a day in prayer, how dare you call yourself a leader? How dare you? Our flock needs us. They're looking to us and saying, okay, I want to grow. I want to learn from them. And if we're spending 4 minutes a day in prayer, or even 15 minutes a day in prayer, my prayer language is constant. I have some time of prayer when I do my Bible reading and my devotion and stuff every day, but it is constant. It is not, it doesn't stop after 4 minutes. Are you kidding me? I mean, that would be 20 minutes a week in prayer, 28 minutes. Can you lead a group of people with just 28 minutes a week in prayer? Let it not be said of the blush agents. I get that there are days, guys, when, they're hard days. For instance, last week when my son, when we found out he had pneumonia, I didn't get time with the Lord that day. I prayed a lot, but I didn't have a time when I sat down and gleaned over his word. I prayed, and I believe God touched his body that night and God healed him. But there are going to be days when maybe you only have time for 4 minutes. Maybe you only have time for 15 minutes with the Lord. But let it not be said that that is the norm. When you have an intimate relationship with Christ, your body aches for him. I'll notice in my life if I'm not having a good time where I've really gleaned in the past couple of days from the Lord, my body aches for him. I'm not satisfied. I'm irritable. I can't handle it. Deuteronomy 6:5. You'll know this. It's through the Bible several times. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. All your heart, all your soul, and all your might. It's a command. Not, hey, if Facebook doesn't have anything cool on it, you should love the Lord your God. Twitter, if there's not something cool trending on Twitter, love the Lord your God with all your heart, strength, soul, and might. No, it's a call on us. Love him. When you love him, you gain security and fulfillment from him. And everything else that is given or taken away doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter as long as you have him. I came across this passage. Psalm 12 says, "Help, Lord, for the godly man ceases to be, for the faithful disappear among the sons of men. They speak falsehood to one another with flattering lips. With a double heart, they speak. That's Psalm 12, 1 and 2. This brings me back to, the leadership that have been in leadership, and then they've fallen morally, had affairs, got caught up in porn, things like that. They have risked everything for these moments of what they think is pleasure. They've risked it all and lost it all. If you are a leader, you're going to be the one that Satan shines his daggers and points them directly towards you. And when temptation comes, if you do not have a relationship with Christ that is so intimate and so wonderful, you can't say no. There's an issue. One of the things that what developed my relationship with the Lord, and I'm in no way there. I just want you to know I'm in no way there, but I know that I ache for him. I ache for my Jesus. I ache to be with him, to talk to him, to get a fresh word from him. I ache because there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. When I was going through, before I was divorced, when, and I've talked about my divorce a lot, a lot of you guys might have heard about it, but when I was going through my divorce, after that night at 3 a.m., when God changed my life and set me straight on his path, I would go into the room, I call it the safe room, and I would literally lay on the floor with my eyes to the ground, listen to the worship music of that time, and just be with my Jesus. Because everything horrible that was happening around me was somehow okay in that time. There are days that I would look up and I would be there for 2 to 3 hours just sitting with my Jesus, just loving my Jesus. It's so worth it. The last thing, having an intimate relationship with Christ is not hard. It is. There's no big secret behind it. There's nothing, that is like super, the secret code is this. It is literally asking the Lord to intervene in your spirit and accepting the intervention when it happens. There's no secret. It is growing a relationship with him by accepting the fact that you don't know it all. You might have been in church your whole life. You don't know it all. And as he intervenes in your spirit and teaches and shows, and you develop a daily routine, a regular routine with him, not to get in a rut of doing so. It's accepting the intervention when it happens. And there's nothing like it. There's times I switch my quiet time up because I might feel like, okay, this isn't working right. And, I do the elliptical machine regularly. I switched it up a couple weeks ago because I needed to be outside. I needed to change it because that's when I do a lot of my praying for the day. I went outside and it was a whole new world of just intimacy with Christ. There's so many other creative things that Lord brought to my mind during that walk. It's switching it up, but making it very constant. It's not turning to a friend when you have an issue. It's not calling your mom when you have an issue, or even sometimes your husband. It is calling on the Savior. Okay, Lord, my son has pneumonia. I can't save him. I can't help him. My husband can't help him. The doctor can't even help him, but you can. You can. So I am relying on you right now to do so. And when he comes through that night that we took him to the ER, this is kind of a side note, that night that we took him to the ER, he came home from the ER, my son, and said, Mom, I'm so happy. I feel so much better. And I'm going, okay, yeah, right. You're just like drugged out on ibuprofen and Tylenol. Like, okay, whatever. 6 hours later, when everything had worn off, before we took him to the ER, he had a temperature of 103.9. 6 hours later, when everything had worn off in his system, I took his temperature and it was like 97. God touched his body. He is the only one that could. And he's not had a temperature ever since. So developing that personal, intimate relationship with Christ is absolutely imperative as a leader. And the way you do that is accepting the Holy Spirit's intervention and building on it and working towards it. Okay? All right. You guys have a super duper Merry Christmas. Totally love you guys. And, we're going to have a video next week. And it's going to be, I think we have, what do we have? 2 more? And then we'll be done. But you know what? I'm so excited to be with you guys. We're gonna start here after the holidays a chat where you can get online and you can chat with me. You can chat with some other members of our team. We're gonna set a time where I'll be on Facebook on our agent page, open, ready to go. You can ask me questions or our team questions, and we can correspond that way. So it's going to be fun. Merry Christmas to you. We love you guys, and have a happy new year. All right.